All right, all right. Welcome to the studio corner.
It's good to be here.
Carlos Platon. How do you say your last name?
Platon Tornes. That's my middle name's
Tornes.
Platon, actually.
Middle name's Platon?
Yeah.
Carlos Platon Tornes. Cuban bastard.
Yes.
You're my favorite Cuban, man.
Well,
maybe
come
you're
on.
you're close. You're tied with Luis Conte. You know.
Oh, that's yeah.
It's you and Luis, yeah. But I think you and I have a special relationship.
We do. I think Luis would understand.
He would definitely understand. I am so excited to have you on here, man. It has been a long time coming, I think. I know this is only the third episode, so for the listeners, like, oh, it's brand new. It's totally brand new. For sure, I agree with that, but this has been an idea in my head, and when it first came about, I thought to myself, Carlos, that dirty bastard's got to get on this thing.
Well, we've been. God, I've known you for quite a while now. We've done a lot of music projects, and so I'm excited about it.
You've been an inspiration. You've been a guiding force in my life, not just in music, and the energy of music, and the passion of music, and the love of it. Watching you has been such a pleasant experience. So
It always is.
and that's why we get along. I love that.
Oh man.
I haven't seen you in a while. You're coming and going. You're living in Nashville now.
Yeah, back and forth from Nashville and, of course, Los Angeles. My home is Los Angeles, but Nashville's my new home. So I guess
It's not a bad new home. It's music. It's Music City.
Oh, it's awesome. It's a great place.
It was overwhelming when I went there.
I know.
I didn't know where to go, what to do. There was just so much music.
It's like 150 bands playing,
Every 10 seconds.
Yeah, every 10 seconds. So
God, the musicianship out there. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's really cool. And it's been in, a good place to learn too. There's so many amazing people to learn from there.
If you can go to Nashville and stand out as a songwriter or even a musician, I think you've already made it on a musician level.
Right.
Like I remember going there. I've been playing my whole life. I remember going there for the first time and going to some of these clubs, and there's bands playing everywhere downtown, and there's like the little alleys with little cool jazz clubs, and those are the cats. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Remember that place we went to?
Yeah. What was it? Alley Taps.
Alley Taps. Yes.
Yeah, I remember walking in there and seeing that jazz trio and that guy on the bass and that guitar. I mean, all three of them. I remember sitting there like, what the fuck have I been doing
All my
for
life.
20 years that I can't do what those guys do? I was so blown away.
I know. That was quite the night, too. They were just on fire. They were fusion, jazz. And then, of course, the bass player sang. Remember that?
Oh, his voice.
He played a six-string bass like, I don't know.
He played it faster than I can play my six-string guitar.
No doubt. And then he sang like an angel. We both walked away saying, okay, that's it.
That's it. Either we give up now or we do everything in our power to be as good as that guy.
Yeah.
That was a fun trip. I had a good time with you out there.
I know, yeah. It was cool.
So you've been recording out there?
I have been recording out there, yes.
Recording what? An EP, an album? What are you doing?
Well, let's see. God, actually quite a few things. The EP that is called Start Living, and it is basically done. It's 6 songs, and I recorded it in Nashville, Tennessee. But I've also done some songwriting with people there, collaborations, co-writing, which they do a lot there, as you know.
Yeah.
And played a few shows, and also worked on an album with a friend of mine up in Ohio, which is a vinyl record we're putting out, which is cool.
Damn,
And
look at you, man. You're going all over the place.
It just kind of started to go,
You're a traveling musician.
I went from, basically making no music to making tons of music.
So, I mean, I guess I have a pretty strong grasp on the difference between an EP and an album, but what keeps you from calling it an album, releasing it as an album? Is it the number of songs on there?
Yeah, like a LP would be the full-length album. EP is the extended play. It's an old term from like the like a single and an extended play, and then the LP. It's just half an album basically.
So you want to release it as a package? You don't want to release it like singles?
No, it'll be the half of a record, 6 songs.
Do you think you'll release singles after that, or are you going to go for a full album after?
I think I'm going to do another EP after I put this out, because I like the short package. The short 6 songs right now, because I can move on to different subjects. And I don't know, it's just a full-length album, 11 songs, 12 songs, 13 songs.
It's a big commitment.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
Especially a thematic one.
Yeah.
That's a lot of writing.
It's 30, 40 songs of writing, and then narrowing it down to 12, So
So you sent me. I mean, I asked for a badass picture of you to post,
Yeah.
and for those of you listening, if you look at the episode picture, it will be the one he sent me. You and the what mountains are those? What do you?
That was in Sedona, Arizona.
Ooh, sexy. That's
Yeah.
fucking sexy.
I know. It was an incredible day, So a friend of mine took those shots.
I love the picture. I think
Yeah.
it's. I asked you for a badass picture, and that's exactly what you sent
Yeah.
me.
It's badass.
Especially with the Les Paul in the,
Oh, yeah.
in the image. Yeah. Well, you sent me a what would you call this? This little note with the picture. This is
Yeah.
What'd you call this? The promotional writing for it for the EP, or
Yeah, kind of like a release statement kind of thing.
Do you mind if I
Press
read it?
release, I guess you could say. No, go ahead.
All right. In 2016, songwriter, guitarist, vocalist, producer Carlos Platon Tornes experienced a crisis of purpose. He woke up one morning with a loud humming in his ears, diagnosed as eustachian tube dysfunction. It brought his music producing career to an abrupt end. Quote, I was totally lost. Overnight, it seemed I wouldn't be able to make a living doing what I loved the most. I was spinning in fear. End quote. After much soul-searching, Carlos looked at his life and came to the revelation that he had not really been expressing himself fully. Quote, I was producing other artists but kept putting my own music on the back burner. It caught up to me and affected my health. I realized that I couldn't keep pushing down my own musical dreams. I had to express them or they were going to kill me. End quote. Strong words.
Yeah.
In a leap of faith, Carlos put everything in storage and hit the road towards creative recovery. His journey to wholeness led him to the mountains of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Whoa. Where the passion for his music and life began to rejuvenate. Quote, I started living again as I began following my spirit. End quote. God, you're a fucking philosopher, aren't you? 2 years into his journey, Carlos now divides his time between Nashville, Los Angeles, and Canada, finding new musical inspiration in each place. His Start Living EP album is part of a series of new music projects about breaking down the inner walls of fear and revealing the truth of who you are. Carlos recently launched an online music coaching program to help people like himself, emerging and returning music artists who, while discovering their authentic musical expression, experience their own creative recovery. Wow.
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 Can you say that every time we do a radio program?
I'm
You
just-
sound so great with that voice of yours.
I'm just going to read that. You know what? Screw it. Every fucking podcast. I'm just going to sit down with random people that this has nothing to do with, and I'm going to read that.
I mean, wow.
That's well. Did you write that? Who wrote that?
I wrote that. Well, I wrote that, and then I had somebody edit with me to help me. But it is true. There's nothing in there that is not. It's as vulnerable and as open as I could put it in a small, package. Basically of words, because it's hard to express all that. It was a 2.5-year journey.
Those are. It's not very long, but those are some powerful statements.
Yeah, thank
especially
you.
the quotes you chose. I really like that. Recovery.
Creative recovery.
Creative recovery. What a fucking statement. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care what age you are, you can relate to that.
That's exactly right. It's
Before we jump into that, because
Sure,
I
go for it.
really want. I want to pick your brain. I want to know a little bit more about your EP because I usually keep in touch with you and you tell me like most things.
Yeah.
But your EP seems to have some sort of weight to it. I want to hear from you. What's the goal of the EP? What does it mean to you?
Well, when I went out to put everything in storage, like I said in that release, I had no idea how I was going to get this music out or what it was at all. And I had really, just really no clue which direction to go. And I kind of embraced that. At first, I was like, always when we have like a crisis of purpose or something, a challenge, we go, we need a plan to overcome it. And my plan was, don't have a clue where I'm going or what I'm doing.
Good plan.
And because of that, I started to reach more into the spiritual life of myself, my faith, my belief in myself, kind of my creative recovery. I went after that. And so these songs are basically a part of that journey, the creative recovery for me. And so there's the 6 songs kind of explore that journey, that process for me over the last 2 years.
What are the songs? I mean, you don't have to sing
titles?
this. Give me
Would
the
you like me to
title.
sing each one right
Yeah,
now?
sing lyric for lyric. I'll give you a little drum beat. Bop bop bop. What's the tempo?
BPM is 130 for the first one, and it was recorded on 48 track. No, Grasping for the Wind is the first song.
Grasping for the Wind.
And that's what I was saying about not having a real clue where you're going. But that's the leap of faith. That's just saying, I know one thing, I got to do something. I got to do something with this energy inside me or I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So you just go. You just make a leap. The second song is called The Lost, and that's after the leap. After the excitement of getting on the road, you find yourself kind of alone, saying, what the hell did I do?
You're in deep shit. You took that first step and you're committed. You have to stick with it.
It's like jumping off into the river or something, and you're halfway down going, oh shit, what this is going to hurt. But that's the loneliness, and in that place of that song, The Lost, being lost, you kind of discover, more about your pain and the things that you kind of regrets. You start to see your regrets, and
almost like forced into acceptance.
Mm-hmm. And you have to look at the things you did wrong.
You got to face it.
You got to face it. And you have to do it alone. So that's the second song. Third song is called Start Living, which is the title of the EP. And that one is kind of really facing the fear pushing back on you. The lyric is, I can't remember the lyrics. Shit.
I can't remember your own damn songs.
But the idea is in that is that you have to really break through. It's a breakthrough song. It's the shift.
Okay.
And you're starting. So I wanted from that song. I started to live from the kind of a heart, mind, body, and soul place. Started unifying myself. That's what that song is about. The healing process begins, in the creative recovery. And then from there, these songs go into some finding what's really important in your life. After that point, it's called the finding gold in yourself and finding it in other people, love, basically. And at the end, it's kind of like an entire circle. It comes back to this journey of life, which Life's a River Ride is the last song.
I think I heard you played a bit of that song for me a while ago. It was an idea.
It's an idea, right?
Wow.
I know, and it's kind of a country rock tune because of Nashville.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah, and that's the circle coming back. And so that's the whole real quick synopsis of the album.
So you'd say writing and recording the album was the majority of the actual healing.
Yes.
The recovery.
Exactly. And that's what I'm promoting for people to do now is to, even if you have no clue what you're going to do, just start it and see where that's going to take you.
Wow.
Because it got me healed.
See, for me,
partly anyways.
Well, I look at that and I think that takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of balls. It's easy to hit rock bottom or hit hard times, especially musically. The energy of music starts to disappear.
Yeah, it does.
Which is, almost inexplainable energy. We can talk about it all day. But when that crashes, your whole body crashes. And in times like that, it's very easy, not necessarily to sell out, but to start looking for what people will accept you for, looking for what people will take from you. And you almost try to change yourself. And I see that a lot in younger musicians, younger songwriters, and, in the industry a lot, of course. But to be doing it for so long and to be in and out of the industry, helping others, being on your own, and to hit that point and go through that, to tell yourself that I'm going to be my own recovery and I'm going to do it in the most authentic way, that takes fucking guts, man.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
I admire that. That's
when you have
hard.
Something like that happen to your health and things like that, you either go this way to the right or to the left, and I wanted to go the way you're talking about, and to be honest with you, but that creative force just sometimes overwhelms you and just takes you.
So, what does it mean to be totally lost in the journey of music success? Not music itself, but music success.
Totally lost in. Say it again. What was the question?
So, what does it mean to you? In your trials, what does it mean to be totally lost in that effort and the journey of not only trying to be a musician or be a real one or authentic one, but the success of it?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be totally lost in that?
Well, it's like that's a really good question, by the way.
It's a tough one. I knew you were coming. I wrote the tough ones for you.
Thank you for that. Let me have to, well, there's for me it just something takes over. It's like almost like an entity enters the body, and you're in this space. I'm in this space of complete rapture of that moment, and music just tears me right into that moment so much that it is. it is like totally living. I can't explain. It's a hard thing to explain. So the success of it is that energy that you feel in your body, that emotion that starts flowing out. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
So,
that,
so
not
what?
financial success or what type
No,
of
no, just success in your opinion as a
Yeah.
musician. I mean, success obviously means, if you can support yourself as a musician, that's one thing. But success in achieving what you really want out of music, achieving what your goals are, and before that, even knowing them, knowing what your goals are, what your intention is, because that changes so much. And to
Yeah.
be lost in that area, I feel like without that foundation, understanding of what you're going for, what you really want out of it, and of course that'll change. But without it, it's being lost. It's
So,
hard.
well, the success for me is touching that energy inside
So
me.
being lost is almost the first step to that.
It is.
You're saying you have to be lost in that in order to have music tear you apart
Right.
into the right place.
Well, it rips you open. It totally rips you open, and that's what we're after. I mean, as musicians, is where we're digging through we're ripping the demons apart. We're in this battle. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And it's this battle that is so beautiful at the same time. It's like not it's a fight, a good fight in a sense, because once the success is when you break through, you're like, oh man, you like just broke into another dimension or something.
It's a noble fight.
It's a noble fight. So that's the success, I think, as an artist, is you're pushing and you're working and you don't even know why sometimes, but then there's this moments that come out and then you just feel, beautifully and you feel great, and it's just that's the success I feel.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now,
That's what keeps you coming back to it.
Yeah, it's that wonderful muse, right? Did you ever find yourself fighting not necessarily fighting that battle, but in the midst of it, kind of not even fighting, but holding yourself away from the authenticity, like trying to fight the pain and the suffering that came with it, trying to fight the being lost factor? Did you ever try to, I guess denial would be the right word, but force yourself into denial? Because sometimes it gets so deep and so intense, especially being on your own in a state with no family, nothing there,
Yeah, right.
It's so easy to see that coming and feel that coming because you've been there before. And sometimes you're like, you know what, I'd rather be in denial, rather be ignorant to what's happening, because that's an easier way to live. Do you ever find yourself kind of going the ignorant route?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What was
90% of the time. No, just kidding. A lot. A lot. I mean, that's because that's always seems to me it's like always right there. There's a statement I've said, you wake up, you're always ready to quit in some ways. It's so difficult sometimes to make art that you're always ready to say, shit, what am I doing this for? It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So
I
you
do
go
know.
that way, right? You go that way a lot. And I think it's normal. I don't know any artist that I know that would just say, oh yeah, it's just perfect, it's easy, everything. It's not. It's a constant balance of how much you can push into it, and then how much it pushes you out, and then you try to fight back in. And it's
Do you ever catch yourself giving too much effort? Like sometimes you're fighting against something that needs to happen to you. You need to accept the punch. Like if you're in an actual battle and you guys are throwing punches, and the musical energy, if you will.
Yeah.
You throw a punch, it's a big right hook. It really takes it out, and you're feeling confident. And then it gets back up and throws a few your way and knocks them. Do you find yourself trying to dodge those and trying to hit back, or do you accept those punches?
I used to punch back when I was younger, and I think probably too much. And now sometimes you take a good long break from it because it can beat you up, the vulnerability and the emotions you have to put into it. You definitely need to.
Do you think it's important to let it beat you up?
That's an interesting question.
I'm curious to see what you have to say, because in my opinion, in the fight you're gonna get hit, and sometimes energy is wasted in the wrong way trying to keep fighting back and pushing back, and it's important to never give up, of course, but you throw a punch, you're gonna get a punch thrown your way. Don't throw 18 punches and burn out all your energy just to get beat up in the end.
Yes, exactly.
So sometimes it's important to take those punches and feel yourself bleed and go down to the floor.
Well, it's like that second song on the EP, Lost. I mean, I'm just curled up in a ball, on the floor.
Was that literally something that happened?
Yeah, I've been curled up on the ball on the ground.
So it physically overtakes you.
Oh yeah, but that's that moment, like you just said, where like a boxer puts his arms over his head and just blocks the punches, doesn't use up the
until
energy.
The round's over. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sometimes you're right. That's really a good insight, Haig, because that's exactly what we have to do sometimes.
Hey, that's the hardest thing for me. You know, I'm a pretty
Yeah.
aggressive person when it comes to setting goals and achieving them and going after them. I'm not very subtle in that sense. You know, I'll admit it.
Yeah,
And
you're 110%
yeah,
always.
always 110%. Um, but I find it so difficult to not want to keep, you know, it's like badgering at something that's already dead. Like, you know, just that round is over. Like, you haven't won that round. You'll come back for the next round and fight. But I'm still in that round trying to throw punches that aren't even landing. I'm just throwing all my energy away. You know, and I feel like is a huge lesson to be learned, especially as creatives, as writers, as musicians, as anybody in life outside of music even. To take those punches, learn to get hit,
Yeah.
learn to go down, learn to bleed, learn to know what it feels like and get back up and know that the next time you go to throw a punch, you know what it's like to get punched, so you're not going to get punched this time.
Right, right.
You're going to have a lot more incentive not to get hit this time. And that, I mean, I definitely hold myself back in that sense. I put myself back at least 10 steps every time I try to stay in the same round and win it.
So you're saying that you pull yourself back in what way? Meaning that you don't want to take the punches, or you?
I won't give up no matter how many times I've been hit, and I keep trying to like punch in the same round instead of like realizing, hey, this may not be working. Maybe it's time to sit down and reapproach this and, you know, start from, you know, scratch. And that's a huge part of being a musician.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to do that. And I
yeah.
I will comfortably and confidently say I have a lot to learn in that realm. Because even if I record a shitty song, like if I do a shitty song and I know it's shitty, I'll still sit there and try to make it something when it's already like, hey,
yeah.
it's over. Try it again, start over. I'm like, no, we're just gonna keep going. And I feel like taking that punch and sitting back down and, hey, I fucked up, let's try it again is not my best trait. So
Yeah.
you know, I admire you a lot in that sense. Because
Well, you're taking a pause and push and stepping back. I've had to do that. I mean, I'm obviously, you know, a few years older than you, so I've gone through that process of getting really beat up a lot. And then one time I just was working on a music project and I just pulled out of it and took 3 years off, you know, and just lived on a boat.
boat.
Yeah, and just stopped.
What music project?
There was a music project in Alabama I was working on. I was pushing. I had a record out. I was trying to, you know, push. This was years ago in Nashville, like 96, 99, well, 2001. And the record company I was working with went bankrupt, you know, and I was just,
God.
and they shut down and everybody was let loose. And so I just said, that's enough, you know, that's enough. So I went back to California and ended up living on a boat for 3 years, and that was a creative recovery at that time. But I said, you know what, I'm going to pull back, and that's what you're saying. I wasn't giving up the fight though.
No, you were taking a break.
I was taking a break, and that was really healthy for me.
Yeah, like, once again, that takes guts.
It does.
You know, I'm
does, to
young
come back.
compared to you, and I think there's a lot to learn there. I think forget age. I mean,
Yeah.
at any age, I think it's a lesson that's learned, and it can be at any time. I know I still have a lot to learn about it, but that's a tough place to be in. I think that's one of the hardest places to be in as a musician, as anybody.
Oh yeah. It's so. A friend of mine I just talked to, he was saying that you know, they couldn't take the rejection anymore.
That's exactly what it is.
And so they just said, I'm done for a while. I can't take it. I can't go out there and play and have, you know, and deal with that. So that's part of being an artist, though, is all those things that we're talking about are kind of make up a gigantic bowl, fish bowl of being what we do as musicians. But we do it because we need to give music out to the world. It can't help ourselves.
Yeah.
So if we don't take that and deal with all that in that fishbowl, then the music won't come out.
I remember something you told me a long time ago when I was really young, when I was like a young teenager. I think I was probably like 13 or 14 years old. We were sitting down and talking about songwriting, and we were working on a project or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But you said something that I never forgot, and you said, all masterpieces already exist.
Yeah.
They're out there in the universe. It's an energy that only musicians or only creatives that are willing to fight that fight, to channel it, will, you know, quote unquote, write that masterpiece. And you made it pretty clear to me that it's not necessarily that you're writing it. It's that it's already existing and you have tapped into something that allows you to channel that energy.
Yeah.
And that's so important. But to be, for lack of a better word, worthy of doing that,
yeah.
you have to fight those fights. You have to win those battles. You have to lose those battles. You have to go through that.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that, you know, because especially when you're writing and you feel like you're at writer's block or whatever you want to call it, you know, I remind myself very, very often very, very often, that it's already out there. It already exists. I just have to tap into it.
Yeah.
I just have to keep tapping into it as much as I possibly can.
And it's tapping in within us.
Yeah, I mean, because it's who you are.
Right.
And in relation to the universal energy or whatever, the musical energy.
Yeah, right. And that's that creative force that you're going in to get inside you. I used to think the creative force was kind of music and all that stuff was more, reaching for it, like it was in, across the mountains.
Yeah.
But as I've learned a little bit better is that it's just really right inside. And that's the scarier part, though, because that's a lot of shit in there to go through. It's easier to go, it's over there, man. I'm gonna go get it, than to stop and look at yourself and end up on the floor in fetal position.
Yep. Yep. It's very difficult because you have to be willing to be vulnerable on the deepest level. Look at your darkest parts.
Right.
And then say, I've got something.
Yeah, well, you do that amazingly.
After such self-loathing.
Yeah, right.
You have to be able to say, I've got something.
Yes.
And stand by it and believe that it's worth something. That's a feat in itself.
It is. And I don't know any other way. I wish,
there's no formula. That's it.
Especially if you're going after like music that's really coming from your own creative soul or whatever you want to call it, your
voice.
Expression. If you're writing, maybe a song for something that's crafted and it's, just taking little themes and rhyming them for some, project.
Which is, a very, respectable part of it all. It's a part of the business, for the actual emotional depth of who you are, your voice.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. The other side I do all the time too. I write for TV themes and different things that just apply to commercials or something. And no big deal.
Great gig.
Right, but the other thing is, well, okay, what am I really about here? What do I want to say?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets a little bit...
and setting up the platform, setting up the actual template for you to be able to say that. Saying, hey, I'm going to embark on music my way. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to record what I want. I'm going to release what I want. And this is what I believe in, rather than, hey, I signed this contract. I'm working for this person. And it's like your voice is still there, but how much does it get dumbed down?
Right.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe that's a route to get to a place where you have to earn it to have a voice.
Right.
But today's day and age, I think everybody can have a voice. Well, there's good and bad to that, but now it's requiring people to sit down and say, what is my voice? You can't bullshit anymore. No. You can bullshit only so much, and then the world eats you alive because there's no hiding anymore. No. So people, I feel like a lot of the difficulty and a lot of the fakeness, if you will, out there is coming from the fact that people haven't taken the time in a world that's so exposed to discover who they are. As cliche as that sounds.
It's a wonderful way to put it.
It's not just saying, hey, I like these things and this is what I do. It's saying, what do I feel in every moment? How do I view things? What do I believe in? If I was, if my principles were threatened, would I even know if they were being threatened? And would I stand by them if I knew what they were?
That's what the artist does. The artist speaks those truths to the world. And if we don't fight that, how do we speak it? I'm not saying I have any great wisdom or anything, but what I'm saying is I'm just trying to I was told once that the artist basically says things that nobody else will say.
Yeah, music is a hell of a thing.
So if it's just given up into this kind of place of, we need to, I don't know, shallow, it's shallow. It doesn't have any depth to it, and then then how does the artist or how do artists speak that to our society and help us with that if they don't go through what you just said?
It's a necessity.
Yeah, it's a necessity, right?
It really is, and it's a responsibility. And I think
right, exactly.
I think as grandiose as that could sound, because people, I think it's easy to look at the pipe dream, quote unquote pipe dream, why is what you have to say so important? It's easy to look at that and be like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Right. And it's grandiose and it's a big concept. And like, you speak unworldly. Like, well, get to the real world. How many times have you heard that? What about the real world? The real world. Like musicians hear that all the time.
I know they do.
But the fact of the matter is, the real world is not real at all. It's just everyone trying to fake their way into communicating and interacting with each other.
Right.
If we can break it down to the most physical vibration, the physicality of it all.
Yeah.
Like actually connecting with someone, actually being physically present. Music does that.
No, it does.
And it demands that.
Yeah, it does.
And you can't fuck around.
No.
You'll be eaten alive.
Right.
You'll be eaten alive by it, and it's so pure. And like,
Wow.
I hope people never stop being grandiose. I hope they never stop living the quote unquote pipe dream. I hope they never stop fighting for what seems totally fucking impossible.
Right.
Because if there's any way to get there, it's through creativity. It's through music. It's through the fucking visual,
Totally.
all five fucking senses being stimulated by something created
Yeah.
that we can't even explain. That is reality.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
more reality to me than anything else.
I love that. That was awesome. You should record that. What do you?
Fuck off.
No, really, it was. You're right. We've had over the years these type of conversations, which is so wonderful to be able to do this with you because
Amen.
it's all about that. We would talk. You and I would talk
Yeah.
for hours before we record anything
Yeah.
about this kinds of stuff.
Get in the zone.
Get in the zone, and I think a lot of people do that or really want to dive into the deeper side of themselves. And deeper, you're right. It sounds like, oh, you're all deep and everything, bullshit, But there are levels of consciousness and awareness that we can expose as artists. I think if we take the time to listen and connect with people.
I think there's a beautiful side to this too, because in the world of social media and just exposure, everyone being exposed, for as much as it's been music and the grandiose ideas have been fought, living the dream have been fought against.
Yeah.
I think there's a platform and there's an opening. These gates are opening for so many people that crave those deep concepts, those things that maybe they don't understand in the moment, but they feel it, and so their life changes because they feel something so great. They want to be deeper. They want to expose things, and I think that no matter what people say about the industry being dead and it's too hard to make it, it's so important. It's not about making it anymore. It's about doing what you feel. If you have that creativity in you, you have to find a way to let it out.
Yes.
Because now it's, as much as it's not being accepted, it's being even more accepted. People are craving it, and it's beautiful to see, because even younger generations like me and even older generations that thought their era was the best, and that's a great thing to do, but there's just so much more to be heard and so much more to feel and come out. It's being accepted. This is such a, they called rock and roll the revolution.
Right.
I think right now we are in the redemption.
Yeah, rock
this is
and roll redemption. I like that.
Just musical redemption, creativity,
right.
Bigger purposes, bigger meanings, bigger ideas. People aren't afraid to think so big anymore.
I know. Well, that's what, you, for instance, you're that kind of a thinker and that kind of an artist and musician.
Well, thank you.
You are. Well, you are, and and that's what we need more of. And I think, but it's there because it's it's like an impulse inside of us. We want it. We crave it. Like you said, we I think we actually crave it. And if it's not in our society, we're like, we look for it.
Yeah, it's almost like sustenance. You can't live without it.
Great art. You look at great art, and and over the years, and most of it's pretty grandiose, pretty big.
Yeah.
Intense ideas, like David, and over there, and the statue, and there's just these huge concepts of expression.
Yeah.
And art and music, and that's I don't know, that's what I dig anyways.
Well, I mean, and especially in the recording world now, to because it's so easy to just sit down and record a song and put it up on all the streaming websites. Even the simplest acoustic guitar and vocals, like some of these artists, the simplest versions of songs have become grandiose, have become as powerful as the Zeppelins, as the freaking Beatles. They've become so powerful because it's so authentic.
That's exactly right.
And I feel like it's easy to get caught up, like it needs more production, it needs more guitar, it needs more drums, it needs more, electronics, it needs more this and that, whatever it is. But authenticity is a demand, and it's in high demand, more than ever. Right. And I think that's why people say the music industry is struggling, because to be authentic means, like you said, to really discover yourself and go through those trials, be lost, take those punches.
That's exactly right.
It's a beautiful time to be in music.
Oh my God! And if you do that, if you accept that and know that it's going to be that kind of a road, you're going to write some amazing songs.
And you're going to connect. You're going to connect with so many people.
I know.
Because you can.
Yeah.
The platform
you've
is
been
there.
Through it, though.
The world has given us the most beautiful plate of everything we could possibly want. All we got to do is pick up the fork and taste it.
I like that. And I agree with you. I think this is the greatest time in music, probably the greatest time possibly in music right now, because there's so many avenues, so many great musicians. I see them all over the place. They're just amazing. They have an outlet now. They don't have to work with a certain company and conform to a certain type of thing.
Yeah.
They can just do it. And it's, when was the last time that went on,
Yeah, seriously. When was the last time we had that freedom?
Yeah, with how many?
The Renaissance, maybe?
Right, exactly. Where they were all funded to do all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So,
So in reapproaching music, let's get back to your journey and your walk through this life. Especially recently, there's been a lot of moments where you've been lost and have to come out of it. It seems like it's a difficult part of it is putting your own music in the forefront. Yeah. What kind of steps do you have to take to say, no, I'm going to wake up today and my music, what I believe that I need to do is in the forefront. That's before all other things. Maybe I'm working on 10 different projects, but when I wake up, the forefront is what I do, my own music. What kind of steps do you take to remind yourself of that every day or even get to that place?
Yeah, that's another good question.
I'm not trying to stump you here.
No, that's okay. No, it's just a good question. I think it's discipline and a disciplined practice, I would call it. Like if somebody was going to do a martial arts practice, you need to get a practice going. So for me, it's is that what you're asking?
I want to know how you do it. What it's about.
I get up and I do a lot of some journaling and maybe some meditation and kind of get centered on what my intentions are for the day for that music. And a lot of times it just kind of informs me that thinking about that or meditating on it, of how I'm going to approach it, because as a musician you sometimes have to juggle several things, business side, writing side, performance, doing commercial work or whatever. So
yeah,
that is a big part of it. If I just listen to what I'm supposed to do that day, I'll usually follow the right path. And if that's kind of the roadmap that I use.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, amidst of, I know that you work in the music industry, you write for, that's how you make your living and whatnot.
Right.
But a lot of musicians out there, they have jobs and then they have music. Yeah. And to put your music in the forefront, like whether you're working as a musician or just working, doing whatever, at some point, what you do, your own music, is outside that work in a sense.
Yeah.
I guess. How do you balance that? How do you go to work all day, especially if it's in the music industry? How do you go to work all day and just exhaust yourself of that musical energy, that musical?
Well, I think for me, I got rid of some things. For instance, producing other people, stopped doing that. To be honest, because it was or I do more teaching now, more coaching and teaching stuff.
Yeah.
So that I can free myself up to be more creative on my own. Because if you're in the studio a lot, producing or writing, it's a lot of energy coming out of you. So you really don't have a lot of time to do your own thing. So if you're going to do your own thing, you got to structure it some way that you can put all your energies into what you're trying to do. And if it's a side job or whatever, that's cool. Whatever you got to do. But you have to make that a priority in some way.
Yeah,
and make a living too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, making a living and having a job, whatever it may be. Like I said, putting music in the forefront, like your own music.
Well, you have to put it, I think for me right now, it's like, you have to believe in it.
Fuck yeah.
You got to put some faith into it. You've always been good to, you call me up every so often and said, you're out there kicking ass, So, but it's true, it's like sometimes you give up on it's, putting it out there. You have to go, okay, I'm doing this. The power of your mind and your intention to do this, Haig, that's a huge part of it.
The intention.
Yeah, and the going, this is what I'm doing. Okay, I'm the universe. This is it. And it may go, then we're going to throw you in the desert by yourself.
Well, yeah, you have to
right?
You have to be willing. You have to be ready for that place of, I say fuck you because you said fuck you.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like the entire world can just demolish you. Everyone on the planet could look you in the face and say what you're doing is wrong and it's not good for you.
Yeah.
And even after that, I guess you have to stand up and say, I think it's good for me.
Yes, exactly.
I think this is right for me because I believe in it.
Right. And that's exactly what will happen. People will say, you need to give up, you need to do this, you need to do that. And if you're doing that, then you're not I know people give you advice, and there's some good advice that you get to keep yourself balanced so you're not like totally poverty or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to do your art and your music, you better make it the priority. So, and for me,
I guess that discipline doesn't exist unless you can really stand by it at that level.
Yeah, and then you will find a path for it. See,
It exposes itself.
Yes, if you, it's like, well, I'm kind of into it. I'm doing it part time. I want to do it. One day I will. Like I said in the opening thing, you know, I was pushing my music in the back burner for a long time too. Finally, I said, "This is killing me, man. I'm dying."
Yeah.
So I had it. So I just.
Hey, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That will kill you.
And so that. I said, I don't know where I'm going with it, but once I started to go, hey, I'm doing this, then this path emerged to help support it.
You kind of started to see different doors that you could open.
That would help support that endeavor. But you have to have really strong belief, and I'm continually trying to grow my belief too.
I feel like that applies beyond music. I feel like that applies just to life and anything you want, anything you really believe in. You know, it doesn't have to be creative or musically, but
no, you're right.
to almost make a compromise to the rest of the world, a sacrifice, and say, no matter what, this is what I'm doing. If I have to sacrifice all my comforts,
right,
all my whatever, and move forward, I'm going to, and then it's going to be hard. It can't not be hard in that first step, because even if you had everything in the world, it's still a mental, you know, it's a difficult thing to do mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah, right.
And then to really stand by it, I think it's inevitable that these doors open up. It's inevitable that you start to expose different parts of yourself. You realize what you're capable of.
Right.
And then you start meeting people, stumbling across things. It's almost like, what the fuck? This is weird.
Right.
Like
exactly.
it gets weird.
It gets weird.
It's like the universe is just sending things your way, and it's like, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be that, and you're sitting there trying to, you know, my best advice. I'm only 24. I'll be 25 in like a little bit. My best advice that I've gotten in my own time, 20 years of guitar playing, is that don't ever stop to sit there and be like, where did that come from? Why is this there?
Right.
Just don't slow down to fucking question that. You know what? It's there. You still believe in what you believe in. Roll with it. Keep moving.
Right.
Never lose your principles. Never close your heart. Stay vulnerable and push like a motherfucker.
Right. And then take those punches like you said we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I mean.
But you're right. Look what's happened in your life. All the different things that have opened up because you were that way with me. You said, Carlos, I am going to do this. I'm writing my music. And sometimes I'm going to record. I'm going to play. And you know, and sometimes I'm not going to have a clue what I'm doing, but I know one thing: I ain't. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, and so all these doors are opening up to help support that endeavor.
You know, man, like I said,
I
may not have as much experience as you, but I do. I have been there.
You're an old soul, my friend.
I've been there in the crippling places, walking away. You know, putting a guitar down, not touching it for a while.
Yeah.
You know, not turning on your equipment, staying completely away from music, just doing something else for a while.
Yeah.
And you know, there's only one outcome.
Yeah.
You crave it so much that you end up getting pissed at yourself and pissed at everything, and you just rip everything to shreds in your life. You literally destroy your own life so that all you see is the music.
Well, you see that in that destroying, you made a choice. You go to the music, but if you don't, it starts to hurt your health.
Yeah.
Your happiness. It affects your relationships. And mine, it did. It really affected a lot of things. I didn't know it. It was subconscious.
Yeah.
But it definitely was affecting things. And so, you know, I think that everybody, and it's not just music, you know, whatever people are doing, they have to tap into that creative self, because that's what we're here to do, is create. Come on. Sit around and, you know, binge on Netflix 24 hours a day, as you said.
You know what? I'd love to get insight on this from anybody that wants to talk about it, but people always say, what's the meaning of life? What's the purpose of life? What it is that, you know, I don't have the answer, but what I can say is creativity and innovation is bred in our genetics as human beings.
Yes, exactly.
Our species cannot help but create and innovate in some way or another, whether it's in a personal level, on a worldly level, you know, out the world. You know, we're in that place in time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But no matter what it is, we can't help but create and innovate. That's you know, that's enough meaning for me. And no matter what you do in life, if you deny those two things, you will end up killing yourself.
Yes, exactly. Man, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's a simple concept.
Pushed it down so much too.
And you know, sometimes our lives, you know, not everyone's as fortunate as others. I don't think that's an excuse by any means, but sometimes it's you push it down because that's all you can do to survive.
Absolutely.
You know? But you have to never lose the awareness. You can never lose the hope to say that maybe for one split second I don't have to push it down and it could come out, because that moment could be the moment that changes everything.
Right.
And every time you stay more aware of those moments, it comes out. But
That's
if
that
you,
awareness you're talking about.
yeah, and if you lose that awareness, then you lose yourself.
Yeah.
Which, at that point,
Then you
forgive me for saying it. What's the fucking point of living?
Oh yeah, I know. Well, that's
What's
why I
your
go
worth
back to
then?
that EP, calling it "Start Living." I called it that because I needed to start living at my age, and people need to do it all the time. You got to keep that energy flowing, and it's sad to see people, myself included, just shrinking because it's like a valve,
Yeah.
and you start to cut the valve off, and your life force just starts to dry up, and and so
You become a slave to yourself.
yeah, instead of opening it up and allowing it to flow through you and trusting it. I mean, did you look at the nature, look at the birds and the plants and the moon, and it's just, I mean, everything's just booming with
Yeah.
creativity, and we're gonna say we deny it. What's up with that?
And that's what I said. Sometimes it's hard. People live very difficult lives all around the world,
course,
this and
yeah.
that, and it's very easy to suppress that. But I don't think there's any, as long as you have a functioning mind,
Yeah,
as long as your mind is still yours, you will always stay aware of those moments of openness, of creativity,
Yeah.
of innovation, of
Yeah.
want. It's that will. That's the will to live. To never lose your mind, to stay open and aware. I mean, that's the basis of it all.
It
That's
is.
easier said than done,
well,
of course.
yeah, I mean,
but, I mean,
yeah, it is, but it's very true, and I think it starts with real simple things like just looking around the room right now, and the microphones and the cool studio we're in and everything, and that's just beautiful right there. If you start with just the simple beauty that you have, right, and grow from there.
I did a meditation like 2-3 years ago. I had this meditation. I was going through a very difficult time with my own nonsense, not nonsense, but you know how we talk about ourselves. Like, oh, looking back, that was so ridiculous. But you know what? In the time, I was going through a hard time.
Crisis, like I was.
But I had this meditation where I'd wake up every morning before I'd go to the gym, before I'd have coffee, before I'd do anything. I'd wake up and I'd go outside, and I would find at least 30 things, living things, or just 30 things like the sun or the leaves or the birds or whatever.
Wow.
And I would look at them and say, I love you to them.
Right.
And 30 different things every morning. I would tell them
beautiful.
that I love you. And by the end of it, I felt so uplifted. I felt so energized and so ready for anything that would come my way, because the first thing I did with my mind, my spirit, my heart, my body, everything was teach it to love.
That's
Say
beautiful.
the first thing we do today is we love. And honestly, that changed my music.
Right.
That changed my approach. That changed my ability to be patient, because that's a huge thing as well. Like to be in such a loving state, to be even so furious or angry at something or someone, but still have that loving energy to sit down and say, hey, I'm not going to record and produce and release this song in the next hour.
No.
Before the next hour, I'm going to perfectly care and delicately and patiently achieve this one thing.
Right.
And you could do that for the rest of your life and have
be happy.
one product or one anything that you're proud of, but it will be the most real and most worth it thing in the world.
Oh, that's great, man. That's a great meditation. I'm going to do that myself. That's wonderful.
Sometimes you got to get down to those bare bones.
I know. Well, yeah. When you're in that state you're talking about, it's that's where you come back. But that's coming back to the muse. That's coming back to it. That's how you get back.
Yeah, I mean,
That's how you get back to your creativity.
that's that awareness. That's
Yeah.
or at least the attempt for it.
I know.
So I want to, and we don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but I'm very curious, especially for people that are listening, especially musicians that are listening, or anybody with goals or dreams listening. How old are you now?
53.
You're 53. You're 53 years old, and you're chasing the dream,
Yeah.
and you're writing, and you're recording, and you're doing everything in your power to support yourself.
Right.
And I mean, and I could be totally wrong. But from an outsider perspective, that seems incredibly lonely.
Yeah.
It seems incredibly, I mean, it doesn't push you, like it would just push you away. It would beat you down. It's not inspiring to yourself. It's not pushing. It's hard. It seems like, I feel like a lot of people would ask, why the hell you keep trying? Why are you still going after it? After all of this, after all the success that you've had and many other things, you still wake up, you pick up a guitar, and you feel so deeply, and you stay so aware, and you still chase that. What's the difference between you stopping and just playing your guitar and writing your music and loving it and waking up and chasing it the way you are? What's the difference there? What's keeping you?
That's a good question. Another one of your good questions.
I told you I wanted to rip into you today.
Yeah, you did. You're definitely ripping in.
You're the man for the job.
No, I can totally get. That's a great question. It's a necessity. It's not really it's not, to me, it's not. From the outside, it may look lonely, and sometimes it damn well is, guarantee you. But from my inside, it's not. It's me growing and expanding and growing.
Can't help it.
I can't, and it's beautiful because I go, how can you not see what I see?
Yeah.
From my perspective.
Do you
now
ever-
on big success, like if my record became triple platinum, all that crap, that's not really my motivation anymore.
Okay.
Younger it was, obviously, and I've had a few successes in those areas, but now it is more about, not getting to the end of my life and going, shit, I didn't do anything. I mean, I may be 53, but I want to go till I'm 83,
Fuck
so
that, 103.
103. So I don't want to look back and go, wow, you had that chance to make that recording and you didn't. Why? Because you thought you were too old, or you thought that you couldn't do it anymore. Your hands aren't as fast as they used to be. Maybe your voice is not as strong as it could be, or whatever your reason is, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to look back and go, I'm not going to look. When I get to that point in my life where I'm ready to maybe change my approach, then I'll be ready at that time. So that's pretty much my motivation right now. I've got a lot of things to say, and I want to keep saying them.
Almost like you can't survive unless you do it.
Well, I was dying. I was basically getting wiped out because I did stop doing it. Remember?
Yeah, I do remember.
So and
I was about to rip your fucking head off.
Exactly, and I was stopping, and I was getting sick and getting weird.
Dude, you've always been weird. Don't give me that shit.
I know. So now I'm empowered. I feel great. I mean, I don't have all the things yet, but it's all coming from within me, and it's.
So you
I don't
still
know. I
you
think
still
it's
have
great.
hope, is what I guess. You still have hope in the sense of it's not necessarily the triple platinum record, like you said. It's not necessarily, but it's more. You still have hope that you will only gain more as a musician and gain more beauty and wonderful things as you share. And it's
Yeah.
almost like it's your responsibility, like we said, to share those things.
I don't think it's hope, though. Because
What would you call it?
Hope would be like, I hope that somebody likes my music, or I hope that I'll make $1 million, or I hope that it's not that for me right now, Hike. It's more like it just is. I'm just being it.
God damn, that's metal.
Do you know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
And if I can just be it today, and if I get hit by a truck tomorrow, I was it.
Hell yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Whatever
Yeah.
that, for me. And if I can live that way, I'll be fine.
You could die tomorrow and I'd be totally happy because
Yeah.
I lived the way I wanted to.
Yeah, and I'm creating things too now.
That is so beautiful.
I know that drives me.
I got the chills right now. That's just so incredibly
Thank you,
inspiring.
but that's why it's not about the. That's why
It just is.
Yeah.
It just is. I know that sounds so.
It
It may sound
doesn't really give him much information.
no, but it so does. It so does. You just are. It just is. It's like a level of acceptance that no matter what kind of success comes from it, without that,
Yeah.
it means nothing.
Right.
It's like the kings with all the riches. Like you can't take it with you when you die,
right. Exactly.
and you've already passed that. You're only. I mean, in that sense, you're young.
I am young. I'm really young. I'm kind of a late bloomer. I really feel I'm a late bloomer.
Are you kidding? You're more fun than my friends my age. Come on.
I am a late bloomer. I mean, it's great.
We've partied at shows together.
Oh my
We've
God,
been
we
drunk
got
on
a
the
lot-
hood of cars.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
come on.
we've got some serious stories, you and I. And I'm obviously a lot older than you, but it is about that. I'm a late bloomer. I think a lot of people are. I think that a lot of people my age are coming into their own creatively if they choose to.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going through this crisis of purpose, like they've got problems with their families, they've got jobs they lose, and they're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Now what? Their whole life they thought this plan was working,
Yeah.
and then it stops, and they're like, what the hell? So,
Something I've always respected about you and something I've always looked up to about you is that I'm going to say this as delicately as possible, but it's not my strong suit.
okay.
You've never been married. You've never had kids. You've never gone for that family route, and there's nothing wrong with that. You've never had like the day job career, like that sense of things. I don't remember a single time, even when you weren't doing music, that you were. Like that you like I don't remember a time that you weren't fighting for it, that you weren't
Yeah.
waking up and saying, I'm Carlos. Whatever Carlos is today, I'm gonna live that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna feel that energy. I'm gonna write that music. I'm gonna share that with the world no matter what it is. And that changed every single day. And that's something I've always admired about you, because even in the
Darkest days.
days,
Yeah.
and to go about life the way you've gone about it, one is not only it's fucking rock and roll. That is so rock and roll. What you've, I mean, how much more? I want to have you back on the podcast soon,
Okay, yeah.
because I want to talk more about your like journeys through life, because that
Yeah.
is so rock and roll.
Right.
But to just keep that lifestyle, that nomad living, that just give me a fucking guitar and I'll go. I'll sustain myself. I'll find a way to live, because this is what matters.
Yeah.
And to hear you now, after all the years that I've known you and the years that you've been on the planet, to say it just is, I mean, that is the answer. That is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the
you.
most inspiring things I've ever heard. It's
Well,
so incredible.
It's taken me a long time to get to that place, to be honest with you. I'm still working at it, to be very honest with you. But
Well, you should never stop working at it. I don't think there's ever
no,
that
but
final.
it's like there's a part that goes, this is it. This is who I am, and if you don't like it, you're gonna kick my ass, because this is what I'm doing.
Now you're speaking my language.
You know what I'm saying? So, but in our world, artists are sometimes not really supported the way they should be, as we all know. But we all love them when they're big and successful. We all want their arts on the walls and the music in our ears. But the road up, the pain that they have to go through sometimes,
It's very misunderstood.
is very misunderstood. And they go, well, why is that guy suffering? Look what he's doing. He's not doing anything. And then all of a sudden he does something wonderful, or she does something amazing.
Something I've learned is, I think it's everyone needs to stop, including me, to look at someone else and ask why they're suffering. You don't know if they're suffering.
Right, exactly.
And I found myself looking at other people, because I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
I never really had a normal day job. I did.
You're a lot like me, but
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Like, I'm doing my own thing all the time, and
Yeah.
I would always look at people who like had jobs or went to college, and they'd always be complaining about it, like, oh, why are they suffering so much? Like, maybe they're just venting about it. Why they're maybe not suffering, they're doing their life. And that would get the same thing my way. They would look at me and be like, why are you putting yourself through this? Why are you suffering so much? There's easier ways to go about it. That person wants to sign you, just sign and work with them. Just take that contract, whatever it is. And there's almost like this shut off with people, including me. And I feel like this is such an important thing to overcome, and a huge thing to overcome.
Yeah.
Is to not immediately suggest that they're suffering.
That's
When
great.
someone's in pain, when someone is struggling, when someone's fighting for something, it doesn't mean they're suffering.
Right.
It means that they're fighting for something, and they believe. I mean, if anything, they're living more than we are.
Right, exactly.
And that's been a hard lesson for me to learn. I've learned to find a new appreciation or respect for others and all the
Yeah.
choices they make,
Yeah.
whether I agree with them or not.
Right.
To see someone that stands by what they do and never give up, to see you. I mean, what a blessing it has been to have you in my life. I mean,
thank you.
talk about the universe bringing people together. Like, I never stop and say, oh, that was random. There's no way this was
Well,
random. I mean, to see you even till this day, it's so incredible.
Well, same with me and you. I mean, I was out there when I first went out to Nashville this last time, and and there was some pretty dark moments sitting in that house by myself, sitting there knowing nobody, in the town, and trying to do what I wanted to do and talk to you on the phone, and you would just go, you are kicking ass. I'd go back to that, but just, being my support, that family support, I consider that you family in that way, because, you gave me that, and you have that energy. You got that youthful thing, man. It's like, it's like,
Well, because I'll get a fucking ticket out there, fly out there, and smack you in the face if I find out you're not doing it.
Right, exactly. So that it goes both ways. You're very enlightened in all those areas, and it really helps. You really help a lot of people with that. Really give a lot of people a lot of energy and a lot of hope. So.
Well, thank you, man. I mean, that's
true.
if it's not to inspire and reach other people, then what's it for? We're on this planet with 7 billion or however many people other people there are. If we can't find more ways to connect, then what are we doing?
I know it's really great, and this is a great format to do that we're doing today.
Yeah, I mean, that's like 90% of the reason why I started this. I want to build that community.
Yeah.
I feel like, creative people, artists, not artists, people that have other interests need to know that things are still alive.
Yeah.
There's a community out there that can be built. You just have to be willing to sacrifice the one you have. Because I think we've all taken a lot of steps towards building the wrong communities in our life. Not that people are bad or good necessarily, But hey, if you guys aren't if you're not, the people around you are not pushing you
Yeah.
in the direction that you want to be, if you can't relate on the levels that you need to relate on, then it's not that they're good or bad. It means that you have to make better choices and find the people and the other things in life that do relate to you, that can push you
Right.
forward. I was in the gym the other
great.
day, and there's this girl that's actual Viking descent, believe it or not. She's from Norway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's nuts. I love her. She's amazing. I was talking to her, and she made a really, really incredible statement, and I've never heard it before. She said, "You're the average of your 5 closest people."
Huh. That's
And I thought about that, and in that moment, I was like, I'm not okay with that.
wow.
And
So-
immediately, I started making changes. And it's a
Yeah.
really, really clear cut way to look at it. You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself, 5 closest people
I
you
think
surround
that
yourself
she's
with.
right on. She's right on. You know, I mean, I'm briefly going to Nashville and meeting these people I met there. I met some incredible people there, right? And
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to work in a great studio and Music Row and all these things that are really cool. But the biggest thing I learned from that community was their authenticity and writing from their heart and being real, right?
And you related to that.
I related to that, and I wasn't surrounding myself as much with those people, and so that's one of the reasons why we have to travel sometimes as artists.
Yeah.
We have to go other places and see other things.
Oh, that's so important to see what other music is out there. Live
Yes.
music, man.
Oh my God!
Going and being in the physical energy of other
Yes.
musicians is so important.
And that's part of your thing when you're talking about the 5 people, but it can even be bigger than that. You're around something that's really big. If depending on what you want to do with your life, she's right on.
Yeah, that really gave me a run for my money there. Shook me up a little. I'll be honest with you.
Should get her on the show.
Oh man, I already know. I'd be afraid.
I know she'd be throwing questions back at you that were a lot tougher.
Yeah, she's totally. I relate to her. I'll tell you that much.
That's great. That's great.
So, in the midst of all these changes, in the midst of all this growing and writing and projects and all that fun stuff, do you think songwriting and where you write from has changed in your years? Do you think when you were younger, the way you wrote a song, not necessarily the style, but like where it came from inside you, do you think that's changed? Or do you think you've just changed and it still comes from the same place?
I don't want to say it's another good question because it is. I've already said it 4 times, but
Hey, that's
a
fine.
lousy question. I think it's coming from the same place. To be honest with you, I when I was younger, I started writing songs really young. My dad would make up songs, and my family's very musical, and so when I picked up the guitar young, I just wrote. But you just start writing, it was just the way it was in my family.
It's a sense of freedom.
Yeah, and that's where it's always come from. Now I've pushed it down, it has changed, it's morphed, but I can write. I can tap into that pretty quickly, and I'm very prolific, I think, in writing because it's just that's that place that was a young, childlike nature. So I think it still comes from that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it's better now. I've gone through some phases in my life where
Well,
I
it's
wasn't
more
writing from that
developed,
way. Yeah.
Because, I mean, styles change, and, obviously you go through different things as you get older, and, from being 16 years old to 25 to 25 to 35 to, all the way to, to
Yeah.
being 50.
Yeah.
You're obviously living different life. You're going through different things, but to be able to write from the same place inside you, it just comes out a different way. I mean, that's,
Still the
once
same
again, a
place,
feat in
It's
itself.
the same place. Like when we do our jams, sometimes you and
Yeah.
I, that's the same thing I was jamming when I was 14.
Oh, also another
Right?
thing, real
What?
quick.
Yeah.
Anybody listening, I'm going to start doing jam sessions on the podcast
Oh, are you
with other
really?
guitar players, and you're one of them.
Oh, I can't wait for
So
that.
next time you fucking come on, you better. Well, I have like tons of
Yeah,
guitars,
you got guitars
but
here.
we're gonna jam.
Okay.
So be ready.
I'm
Anyway.
ready for that. That's awesome. And then that will be the way to express what we're talking about. Yes, it is I think it's the same place. As long as it keep coming from that place, I'll keep writing. It'll just keep writing, because once I start to go, oh, I'm going to write a song.
Just like that,
Yeah,
Carlos.
point at your head and use your mind, Yeah, it always sounds like you just did that.
Sorry, fucking Carlos. You get me every time, man. You get
God.
me every time. I'm really curious because
Uh-oh.
I know you're an incredible producer. You just are.
Thank you.
I've worked with you, and you've worked with Ali and AJ.
Mm-hmm.
You've worked on a Train album, I believe, right?
Yeah, that was Lodi Station. That was a different project, but that was a big project.
And you've worked with a lot of students, including me, production-wise. Would you say, from a creative point, from your approach to writing and producing, would you say there's a difference between producing someone like Ali and AJ with a big contract, or Train writing a song with big album, to working on a student's album or production?
Well, with AJ and Ali, I didn't produce them. So I was more their coach, pre-production person,
Okay.
Writing
All right.
coach, and artist development person.
Okay.
So that was a different kind of. I kind of got them to a place where they could, really launch into that world.
Go into the studio, go on stage, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I didn't produce them, but the Train project I did produce, and that was a very large project, and that was different because you're taking a lot, like with Agent Alley was like working with them, writing songs, development. Now producing, you've got that writing song development, but now you've got to hire all the musicians.
Yeah.
You've got to pick the studios. You have to manage the budget.
Oh,
You have to be responsible for the final mixes and the masters, and the person who's hiring you is demanding a high level.
Yeah.
That was a lot of pressure because you're managing all those different elements.
So it's a totally
and
different
I wrote
approach.
the music too.
So yeah, and you had to be creative and write the music.
Right.
So would you say it's a different approach in
Than coaching artists or developing artists.
well, even like say I came to you and I said I have 5 songs already written. I want you to produce them.
Okay.
Would that be a different approach as to the Train album?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, what would be the differences? I mean, obviously there's different pressure because
Well, if you came and you had these songs and you said, I want to produce this, I would first want to try to find out what the vision is for you, what kind of an artist you are.
okay,
Where is your real pulse coming from?
nice, I like that.
That flow, and then really tap into that authentic place, and then the songs, and then really work on the songs, and develop them to the strongest they can be. And then the production side is really not that hard because the songs start to speak themselves.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but
I
if they're
totally
not
agree with that.
developed,
Yeah,
Like
if it can't stand on its own.
right, then you're just trying to fill it in with production. So that's what I would do if somebody came to me that said, well, I want to produce. I've got 6 songs. I love them. And I would say, well, let's hear the songs. Play them on the guitar. Play the piano. Did they stand on their own first?
It's really interesting.
That's what
I love that. That's so. I mean, the songs speak for themselves.
Yeah. Then the production.
I feel like that's a really good way to like determine when it's ready. Like if is the song good enough? Is it ready to record? Well, it's like start to produce it. Is it easy? I mean, not that it has to be easy, but like it almost unveils itself.
Right.
That's a really great way. I really love that. I
because
really hope people listen to that.
Well, it's true. I mean, and I don't think it's that, of course you can do jazz, blues, whatever, but the artist is already a jazz, blues, or hip hop or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
They're that artist already. What kind of artist are they? As soon as that comes out and it's really strong, then you're just going to put drums on it and do the right drums because
Enhance it.
For instance, for you don't want to do a good heavy metal rock tune, right, or something.
Yeah.
You're not, you're going to put a freaking hell of a drummer on that thing.
But the riff's got to be good.
Right. Yes.
So when you're, and I'll let you go after this, but
that's all right.
this is something I'm really interested in. I really like this topic because I've had this conversation with a few musicians that have been in the production side of things.
Mm-hmm.
What do you give to others as opposed to what you give yourself in production? Like the effort, the creativity, the want, the drive that you give into other people's music to produce it, as opposed to looking at your own songs. Do you give more to others, or do you give more to yourself?
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think in some ways I give more to others.
Why is that?
It's a little easier to give more to others for me than to give to my own music, because my own music I've got to deal with a lot of my own insecurities about it.
Nice, beautiful.
Right? My fears, like, oh shit, that's a stupid lyric. What the hell did I say that for?
Yeah.
But if I'm working with somebody else, I can say, that's a stupid lyric.
You should fix that.
You should fix that. And they'll go, oh, maybe it is. And they'll fight me on it, and then we'll come to some kind of, I'm not. That's just kind of a bad example, but it's a more freeing. So that way, I give more in that sense, I think.
You almost hold yourself accountable for your own mistakes in your own music.
Right. So if I'm so like I'm producing somebody, I can really, really, really help them deeply because
You're not attached.
I'm not attached. I'm more objective. I'm free from the insecurity of it.
Wow.
But when I'm giving my own stuff, man, that's me. I'm mixing something 20 times trying to get the damn bass to sound right. It's ridiculous sometimes. But
how do you get past that?
That's why usually I have some producer friends and you and other people that I can play tracks for and get feedback for who I trust, and that's what I do. Because that helps me to get through some of those walls. Like, okay, I think it's done, Carlos. It's done.
So as much as it's your own project and doing it on your own, it can't be done unless you have other people to share it with.
Yeah, I think it has to have a collaborative effort to a certain extent, or it's just one hole that you go into forever and can't get out of.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that statement.
Yeah,
I think it's very beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
wow, man, I've learned so much today.
Well, you've been great. Thank you for asking the deep questions. I hope that we'll do this again.
Oh, we're definitely doing it again.
Yeah.
As anytime you're in town, I want you on this podcast. You just you're just too much in that beautiful mind of yours.
Well,
beautiful soul.
Well, you too, man. And
people just don't talk like that anymore.
Well, we need to, as a community of musicians, just challenge ourselves to make better music, and or to find more of the truth of our own music. That's a better way to put it, because I don't want to say one music's not better than the other, but to find more of who we are, and then write that song, that classic thing, write a new song that's nobody's ever heard before from your soul. If I can help people do that, then I think that's my success.
Well, what date is the EP coming out?
January 30th is the tentative date right now.
Right on.
Because I've got a couple tweaks to do and get the release correct, but yes. So.
Well, next time you're on, hope you will play a song or two.
I will, man.
Carlos, thank you so much for coming on. And to everybody listening, listen to this man's words. Man, I just, incredible. It's been such a pleasure. I cannot wait to have you back on. And thanks for hanging out in the studio corner.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor.
Rock and roll.